Like, literally, there was hardly any Christmas decorations up at all on Christmas Eve, and in the morning, you woke up and it threw up Christmas overnight.
6Ks in a mic, we're done being quiet, breaking all the rules, starting up a riot, raw and real, no scripts to read. This is the honesty that women need.
Just a reminder for our listeners, we are 6 sisters who come from different generations. We come from the same family. And if you've talked to us, even though we grew up in the same family, we've lived very different lives and have very different stories to tell.
So we try to bring it all to the table, and sometimes it's a revelation for those that weren't there. So we all learn together, even inside our own family.
Welcome back to 6Ks and a Mic. Today's episode is all about the magical, chaotic, hilarious holiday traditions we grew up with and the ones we've created as adults. From the freezing cold tree cutting trips to the mystery of the magically decorated Christmas morning, we're bringing it all up today. We're talking food, music, downtown Cleveland memories, church services, and what the holidays look like now.
Who remembers the trek out to the tree farm?
I do.
The best thing about the trek out to the tree farm is it could have been 50 below and Dad is in a sweater.
Yeah.
No jacket, no gloves, boots, and a sweater. That was one of my least favorite traditions. That frickin' tree sat in a bucket and wasted its very short lifespan in the garage in a bucket.
Because Dad always said it's tradition. That it's tradition.
You're also missing a big piece of the tradition. When we were little,
The tree came in Christmas Eve, and Santa decorated it for the morning. Like, literally, there was hardly any Christmas decorations up at all on Christmas Eve, and in the morning, you woke up and it threw up Christmas overnight. It
Yep.
was everywhere. But I would tell you one of my most distinct memories is when we would come down those steps on Christmas morning, the smell of that tree was undeniable.
One of my favorite things was Dad always had his mantle, which I think we all have sort of, enjoyed decorating our mantles.
Yep.
But he would have like greenery or something up on the mantle. And then I remember this one year he got these bells and they attached to the garland.
Oh,
I'll never forget laying in the living room, laying on the couch, the ugly orange and white couch, and just staring at the Christmas lights and listening to his bells play the Christmas. It was just so peaceful. I loved it.
But I think it's important to note, right, that our father was really the Christmas person. It really,
for sure.
you know how you read all the time, well, mothers carry the holidays, mothers carry the holidays. Our mom was definitely a cook and, she participated for sure. But it was our dad who was like, these are the traditions we will build,
I was thinking about this too, is like I was thinking of what it was about Dad and Christmas that I don't know, that just resonated with all of us clearly and him. And I'm like, maybe it was seeing him be so joyful and just loving. So, you could tell how much joy that brought him. So I was thinking about that.
Yeah. That's when I used to see our brother in Dad was at Christmas time. And you know how Billy sings those goofy songs or does that goofy stuff, that was how Dad was at Christmas time. He would be like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Everybody, let's go. And he'd be singing or doing some crazy stuff
Yeah.
that just you didn't see most of the other 365 days of the year.
I was going to say, let's talk about the Christmas music. And I'm going to let you talk about, because as Kim mentioned, Dad was Mr. Christmas without a doubt. And Dad had very definite Christmas music that was on the list.
He evolved because I remember I used to listen to the Chipmunks album, and I don't remember him making
Well, it
music.
all happened with the Moog machine. Like something overtook him when that whole Moog machine came out and those albums came out because he loved the Moog machine and then Mannheim Steamroller And for some reason, it resonated with him, and goodbye, Eileen. We were listening to the Moogs, we were listening to Mannheim Steamroller.
I still like Mannheim Steamroller. I feel like that must have just been ingrained because I listen to a lot of that at
Well, I
Christmas.
feel like Mannheim Steamroller is kind of like when Trans-Siberian Orchestra came in. It was like this big movement to
Yeah.
that music.
It was more edgy. But yeah, that seemed to be his flip. Now, that did not mean that you were not still listening to Nat King Cole or Perry Como or the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, but he definitely became a little more open about what Christmas music could be, which was nice. Yeah, we had a great Aunt Ida, and she was the head of the fruit cup making organization. And God forbid you let pulp stay on your fruit in the fruit cup because it was completely, relegated to the trash if you did that.
And those purple grapes, you had to get every seed out of those purple grapes.
Oh,
cut in
that's
half.
torture.
Yep.
Who takes seeds out of grapes?
We did.
Okay, we
Ugh.
can talk about cookies. There's a
Well, we
lot.
had 2 facets of cookies, right? We had Grandma Volker and Ida cookies, and we had Grandma Patch cookies. And then we did some at our house, right? So we had lots of different cookies.
And the decorating, the sugar cookies.
Yes, beautiful frosted sugar
Chris's
cookies.
purple Santa Clauses, or was that Kelly?
No purple Santas.
That'll go down in infamy.
All Santas count. All Santas matter.
As long as they're covered with frosting, the cookie tastes good because it makes it mushy.
That's
To have a
true.
little frosting on
Right.
it.
Even purple ones.
But show of hands, who team soft cookie? I'm team soft cookie. And then we've got people who like the hard cookies.
I would like to add a third option.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like burnt cookies.
Oh. Well, burnt would be crispy, so
Mom likes the burnt
Yep.
cookies too, so.
charred.
And just remember trying to hide the cookies until Christmas. Oh my gosh. Aunt Ida used to hide them in the closet on the floor in tin containers. And honest to God, at Thanksgiving, she would stand in front of that door so no one could get in and get them.
Okay, so it's kind of obvious that our family has lots of traditions around Christmas, and we haven't even mentioned downtown Cleveland and the memories that we have about downtown Cleveland and our annual trek during Christmas to downtown Cleveland. Anybody want to throw in any of those memories?
I think that was the best. Like the best. Going to see Mr. Chingaling and going to Kim found the name of the restaurant the other day because I said to her, what was that restaurant called? Yes, Higby. Yep. And getting your pot pies and those little cardboard stoves, like that was just, and going shopping then in the Rigby shop and being able to shop
Twigbee.
for what was it?
Twigbee shop.
Twigbee. That was great. That was great.
What I love too is when we went outside, all the buildings were decorated and Public Square was all decorated, but they had the coolest Christmas scenes in the shopping center
Yeah.
windows. I mean, they were unbelievable, like marionettes and all decorated. So you could literally walk through stories of them in the windows. It was incredible. Incredible. That's one of my favorite memories is those windows were just unbelievable.
Here's a question for you guys. So, like, clearly, all the stuff that mom and dad did had an impact on us, and we still take it with us to today and all that sort of stuff. But, like, now that I'm a mom with young ones, like, it's a lot of work, and it's hard to like now the kid holidays feel a little chaotic because there's a lot of stuff going on. For those of you with your grown children, what are your tips for like keeping that magic alive, but also being able to embrace and enjoy the holiday yourself? Like, is there a key to it, or is it just like a stage of life where eventually it'll come back around?
Well, it's really hard, right? Because that stage of life that's so chaotic is the one that they're going to remember the most.
Right.
So you want to try and make sure that you can create some level of magic in those years, even though it's really, really hard. We all worked while we were raising kids. So I do think it's so much more difficult to create those situations that, make it easy to do it. So it's got to be a lot more intentional. It really does, in my opinion. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
I just think it's the time of year. Like everything shifts to that. And as long as you do one or two things with your kids during Christmas, don't go crazy with things and don't worry about, what your kids are going to think, because I think it's just magical for them. And even when they get older, they just remember Christmas.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of what I was going to say is I just remember the magic and the wonder. So I think sometimes the kids are more immune to that feeling of chaos than the parents are.
Yeah.
And it would be really interesting. I know we've asked Mom a couple times how stressful it was, but their perspective, how crazy was it for them? And if it was crazy, I don't feel like they ever let on that it was crazy.
Right, right. And I think you got to pull forward the things that you love, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't try to do everything, but the things that really
Right.
made a difference for you, that's what you pull forward.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
cutting the tree. I mean, we love to do the cutting the tree thing, right? That's
Well,
huge
right.
for
I
my
feel like
family.
that's something your family has continued.
I was just going to say, I think it's allowing yourself to like be a kid in that with them, right?
Yeah.
Or, like Kim, obviously that's something you really enjoy, and it's setting that boundary. I mean, look, we were going to do a podcast and we're like, okay, no, we are going to cut down the Christmas tree. That's our tradition. We have to do that. And it's like making that important and setting that boundary and really just going all in on it and letting yourself enjoy it like you would when you were a kid.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's amazing how fast those things they get attached to, right? But I think too, like I said earlier, what made Christmas so fun, or at least that I recall, is Dad having such a good time, right? And if you're having a good time, that resonates. It totally
Yeah.
resonates because we don't spend as much time with them as we want to, right? When they're little and when we're working. And so the time we do spend is super, super valuable to them. And they remember.
I struggle because I know my kids, like, the last thing they need is more stuff from Santa. But one of my vivid memories when we were young was like literally presents overflowing out of the living room. I don't know if it's because, like, Kim, you would come over and bring, I don't know where they all came from because I don't feel like they were necessarily all for us, but like just the exorbitant amount of presents.
Well, just for context, right? We lived across the street. So on Christmas morning, we would literally bring most of our Christmas stuff over to Mom and Dad's, and the boys would open up their stuff there too. So there were a lot of people. Plus, the
Yeah.
sisters were usually coming later in the day. So it was a group of people that stuff was for. But I can imagine as a kid, that is all you see is the huge pile.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to think about how your kids are so tied to those traditions. But as you just mentioned, you were in a little different scenario where you did go back to Mom and Dad's house Christmas morning with your kids.
Yep.
Because like my kids, we have traditions for sure, but I don't think that they would be upset if we did something a little different this year
Right.
because we've always had the, okay, well, this is what's going to work this year
Mhm.
mentality of you do you,
Yeah,
Um,
which is good
yeah,
for sure.
Well, and I think
but
too,
it's
I think
interesting.
about it is interesting. And I think about like the whole that I wanted, the decorating and everything. Like for me, it was like, oh, you got to have this beautiful tree, and it has to be so nicely put together. And now I find myself yearning for like, I want like the nostalgic tree. It doesn't have to match. I want the tree that I like grew up with, where it was like just a bunch of random ornaments thrown on a tree. And so
Yep.
Katie, kind of back to your question, I'm thinking of like, if we think about same thing, I remember like a huge house full of gifts and like a room full of gifts and all. It just was like, holy smokes. And as a little kid, that's, exciting to see.
Yeah.
But you think about it now, it's like, I don't even, maybe there's some gifts that resonated for Christmas, but it's not like,
Yeah.
we don't talk about all the gifts we got. It's like just the sort of that feeling that it gave us versus
Yep,
what we
for
got.
sure. For sure.
But see, I have a different memory. I remember being young and we didn't have a ton of gifts under the tree. And there was that one item that you really
Mhm.
wanted. And when you got it, you didn't let it go. And it meant the world to you. And I will never forget my Barbie camper that I got
Mm.
one year. And it was just the best, you know? So it definitely evolved.
I
Yeah,
say
for
that's the
sure.
difference between having 5 of you all within, like, a few years of each other, and then Carrie and I as, like, the lone stragglers towards the end.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I had that baby doll and cradle. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had that thing forever too.
Plus, I think
Right.
it was the
'Cause
times. Parents didn't go crazy
yeah,
at Christmas
for
when we were
sure,
little.
for sure,
I
for
mean, now
sure.
kids get so
And I
much
Yeah.
think
stuff.
it gets back to what Katie was saying, right? That you don't wanna make that the most important thing,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
You wanna make sure the other things are just as important.
Well, and I think you guys are right, like, I think that you grew up in a time where mom and dad didn't have a lot to give you, and, like, I just think about it, like, my kids, probably to a fault of mine and my husband, pretty much have everything they want when they want it at some point or another, and so I find Christmas time to be a struggle when we're talking about what Santa wants to bring because they have stuff.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
Yes, it's
maybe a
really
new tradition could be, right before, like in November, your kids pick out maybe 3 things that they know they don't really play with anymore that they go and donate somewhere.
Yeah.
Because making space for the new or something like that,
Yeah.
to just, because I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well,
Just
and
a
I've
thought.
tried so hard to I just even, now that they're getting older, I feel like it'd be easier to do this, but, my kids, I think, don't understand, they're so young. I don't expect them to, but they're lucky. And there's not kids out there who, have the same stuff that they have. And so just at some point that needs to be instilled in them or, help them
Yep.
realize that.
Well, now that they're getting
Well,
older, you can start a tradition too of, like, donating to Toys for Tots, explaining
Mhm.
to them what it's for, and having them go shop, like, maybe with their money that they earn and say, "Hey, this would be a nice thing to do."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or even I think about, like, and mom would take us I remember we would sometimes go to the soup kitchens and, like, on think for Thanksgiving, and we would help, and this was all through, like, church. They would have us,
Mhm.
go do stuff like that just to I mean, that puts things in perspective, right? Just to see, like, hey, there's a lot of people that aren't living as well as you are.
Um,
But it's hard. It's hard. I
my
can
other
imagine
struggle
that's
around the holidays is figuring out how to like f- there's, between the families, it's so hard. And I feel like I've seen all these things
Mm.
lately that talk about people, or I'm not, going to drag my kids around and we're going to have our family. But like my word was family. And I remember that. But, it's just such a struggle trying to Christmas Eve, Mario's family does. It's the side of the family we don't get to see very often, so we usually stop there, but I feel like we don't get to spend as much time with them as I would like to, and it's just so hard, and it is. It's hectic because 'cause you're going from place to
Yep.
place, but I don't know, if someone could solve that solution. We always hope to have a house where we could just have stuff here, but thanks, economy.
I think I'm now getting more at ease with that, right? Because all my boys are older, they're all getting married, they're having kids, and they are in that same predicament, right? It's important to spend time with all the families, and I think at first it was like, oh, you know, I'm losing something, right?
Yeah.
But now I have a much different perspective around it from the standpoint of they need to spend time with all these folks, right? And it is hard. So do what works best, right? If you need to be here and we have to do something another day, I'm cool with that cuz you see me a lot more during the year than you see like, Mario's family or things like that. So
Yeah, but
I'm
that for
feeling
me,
much
that's
better.
not okay then, Like,
Yeah,
I hear you say
for
you're
sure,
okay with
for
it's just
sure.
hard for me because it's
yeah.
my tradition and my, like, to
Right, right, right.
so and I know,
Yeah,
like, from talking with friends and stuff, this is just a universal issue, but
yeah,
Well, it
for
is
sure.
because you can't be
yeah.
at 2 places at once. It's
yeah.
very
Right.
difficult. For sure, it's hard.
And even if you think about mom and dad, right? We definitely evolved because remember, Chris, it used to always be at grandma's. Everything was at grandma's. And then I think mom and dad, once they got to 3 or 4 kids, were like, okay, we can't do this. You got to come to our place, you know?
Right.
And that
Yeah.
was a big
And I
deal at the
remember
time.
hating that.
Yeah.
I hated that we had to pack up and leave our Christmas to go to grandma's house,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Right. And so, you know, it's not a new thing too. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're not unique. It goes on.
It's
I think you
interesting
just,
to hear your perspective being on the side of as your kids get older, what that feels like
yeah.
when they start their own traditions and when it shifts what you're used to.
Yeah. And you have
Well,
to
I
let
think
them, right? Because your own
Yeah.
personal family traditions are a big deal. They're a really big deal.
Right.
Yep.
They need those.
Well, and I was going to say, I think I'm not a parent, so I'm might be talking out of the side of my head, but I would think that one of the greatest gifts as a parent, as your children get older, is to be able to give them that freedom and that space to say, hey, if you want to go, like, you know, Robbie and Colleen, if you want to go and spend it here, please go do that. I'm okay. And to give them that reassurance, like, it's okay, because I'm sure the kids feel like, I need
Right.
to be here and I need to be here and I need to be here. And, you know, I just think as parents, that's one of the greatest gifts that you could give them, is to just let it be okay and not
Yeah.
have them struggle with the, you know, I'm feeling mom, or I'm feeling this, or whatever.
I
Yeah,
would
it's
agree with
chaotic
that because
enough.
I feel like there's that, like, guilt and like feeling like you're disappointing people and whatnot. So
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely, for
funny you
sure.
say guilt because I was just sort of thinking, like, with tradition, there sure comes a lot of guilt. Because even like the orchestra, right? We started going to the orchestra. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was like, oh, I love this. It's fun. It made me feel close to dad. I felt like just the music and
Mhm.
stuff, like it was
Mhm.
great.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like so upset about not going last year and even this year looking at going. And it's like, okay, if you can go, you can go. If you can't, you can't, and it's okay. I can listen to Christmas music at home too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, much easier
Yeah.
said than done. But as we were all sitting here talking, I was just thinking like there's a lot of and just wondering like what kind of pressure maybe mom and dad felt too. Like with dad, with all the I mean, he was, the one that was so, strong in his tradition. Like how much of that was what he wanted to do versus what he felt like he had to do sometimes.
Okay, so I want just everybody to think, what's one tradition you're ready to get rid of and one tradition that you absolutely would have a very hard time giving up? And I guess I'll go first and this one might not sit well with all of you, but maybe because I struggle more with my weight and with my indigestion issues, I love Christmas cookies, but I don't need 5 different kinds. Like I could pick 1, 2, or maybe 3 kinds that I really look forward to at Christmas and keep those. So that would be something I could give up. But I will never get rid of a Christmas tree in my house, and I know my husband and I have even talked about downsizing the Christmas tree, and do we really need to do a big tree this year? Yes, we will do a big tree every single year, so that's a non-negotiable.
Good for you. Good for you.
I would say that I do most of them. Anything that I really didn't like 3 weeks in a bucket is already gone, right? Because I've kind of had my own family for a long time. So anything that didn't work isn't really happening anymore. Um, but for me personally, because they're all important to me, but I think music is the most important to me. Like I will always have Christmas music on the week of Thanksgiving until, the day after Christmas, nonstop, because that's what is like my backdrop for the whole season.
Mhm.
And so that's a
Mhm.
non-negotiable.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go. I think for me, what something that I've given up is the have tos. And to the point that you guys were talking about, is it's more of I feel into what what feels right for me right now. And gosh, there's so like I'm torn, Kim, because absolutely the music is so important to me, but like the lights, and to Kelly's point, like I will never be without lights somewhere or a tree somewhere or
Yep.
but for me it's the light. I think the lights are just so important to me. So I'll always have those.
I mean, I always have to have lights on my house, even if I have to do it myself, which 99% of the time I do. But yeah, I mean, I think as my kids have gotten older, I kind of let things go. Like, it is what it is. If I can't do it, I can't do it.
I'm gonna give up expectations and perfection. That's what I'm ditching. I would obsess about the perfect gift for people, the perfect decorations. I'm done with that. And what I'm gonna keep is kind of similar the lights or the cozy. Like for me, it's more cozy, like making my home like a cozy, safe space, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We
Kate.
love those.
It's okay. I think I don't think this would ever actually happen, but for me, I think something I could give up would be gift giving because I feel like even amongst ourselves, we stopped exchanging gifts because the reality is I buy myself what I want when I want it. And for me, what is so much more important now and what I treasure more is like the time we spend together and the things we do on
Mm-hmm.
Christmas, like, our white elephant or playing games or doing those things. It's for me, it's more about that, those memories. And as you guys said, that's the stuff that as I get older, as my kids get older, that's what they're going to remember.
Yep.
Something I will never give up. I feel like you guys already like the same things. Like I also start listening to Christmas music like even before Thanksgiving and my tree and stockings. I don't know, all the usual stuff.
Well, what an awesome walk down memory lane we all just had. And, you know, I'm sure our listeners have all had different experiences, and some have been great, and some maybe haven't been so great. But we tried to bring a little bit of warmth to your season and just share what our lives were like and what our memories are. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
I was just gonna say that I recognize for a lot of people the holidays are not joyful, and I know quite a few people that struggle really, really bad around the holidays.
Yeah.
And so just acknowledging that too, like I think I've had to hold space for people where it's like, okay, they do not love Christmas the way I do, and just understanding that their experiences have obviously been a bit different than mine, and just acknowledging that it's not all warm and fuzzy for people. Some people really struggle with the holidays.
That's a really good point.
And that's okay.
A
It's
hundred
each
percent.
person. Yeah.
Hopefully what we said helps those folks where it's like, you don't have to have perfection. It's okay to do something different. Have your own tradition. Maybe the tradition is no holiday. you know, whatever
Get
works.
Chinese food and go see a movie. That's right. Thank you to our listeners for joining us on today's holiday edition of our podcast. You can catch us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Please like and follow. And we hope that you all have a happy holiday season with your families. And we look forward to seeing you again in the new year.
Thanks for hanging with the sisters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the love, because every story sounds better on 6Ks and a mic.